counting down the top 10 most extreme medics in the animal kingdom to find out just who has the most complicated cures. Sometimes it takes more than a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. When nature's medics are taken to the most extreme.
Earth is a planet of extremes. Extreme places. And extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others.
When we get sick, we like to think that the doctor will have some kind of pill to make us feel better. Perhaps that's why nearly half of all Americans are routinely taking some kind of prescription drug. And each year, they'll spend more than $200 billion for their medicines. However, some animals get their medical treatment for free, and their cures can be surprisingly complicated. In fact, we could learn a lot from animal physicians, especially back in the Middle Ages, when the average person was expected to live a mere 33 years. Back then, people knew nothing about sanitation or bacterial infection and had few weapons to fight disease. And when your hygiene is as bad as your table manners, you can get very sick indeed, unless the medic at number 10 in the countdown. It lives in the forests of South America. This is the nest of the harpy eagle. It's one of the world's most powerful birds of prey, but its chick is vulnerable, especially since it spends 6 months sitting in a pile of rotting leftovers. The nest is the perfect environment for disease-spreading parasites. But these birds have found a way to reduce the risk of illness. Eagles are number 10 in the countdown because they decorate their nest with a variety of aromatic vegetation. The leaves contain potent oils that are part of the plant's natural defense system to deter hungry insects from feeding on the foliage. Some researchers believe that eagles also use the leaves as bug busters. The aromatic oils are equally effective against parasitic flies, ticks, and mites, which is why local people use the same leaves as insect repellents in their homes. If you know where to look, the forest is full of plants with medicinal properties. In fact, just walking through the woods may be good for your health. Researchers discovered that diabetic patients' blood sugar dropped to healthier levels after walking through a forest. In Japan, they call the effect Shirin-yoku, or wood air breathing. So what is it about wood air breathing that makes us feel better? Scientists working in California's Sierra Nevada mountain range identified 120 chemical compounds in the mountain forest air. Some of the most abundant were monoterpenes, released from the resin of pine trees. Aromatherapists use purified monoterpenes in essential oils because they're said to be good for respiratory problems like asthma and bronchitis. So perhaps the next time you feel a cold coming on, instead of popping a pill, you should take a walk in the woods and sniff a pine tree. Young eagles also benefit from fragrant forest foliage because it's a remarkably effective tool for ridding their nests of parasites. However, as we continue through the countdown, we'll meet animal medics with far more complex treatments, some of which may one day inspire human doctors.
Number 9.
This is the world's deadliest animal. According to the World Health Organization, mosquitoes kill about 2.7 million people every year by transmitting dreadful diseases. No wonder we slap on all kinds of chemicals to ward off this tiny terror. Mosquitoes are also a problem for our next contender, and it can hide indoors. It lives in the bug-infested forests of Madagascar. This is a black lemur. Just like the eagle, it makes its own insect repellent. But instead of using pungent plants for protection, the lemur goes in search of a bug. Few animals go near a millipede because it has a noxious defense mechanism. When provoked, it will roll up into a ball and release a spray of poisonous chemicals. In one species, chambers along the side of the body produce the deadly gas hydrogen cyanide. Millipede juice is such an effective deterrent that it's stolen by lemurs. Usually, these harmless primates only eat leaves. But they've discovered that nibbling on a millipede causes it to release its terrible-tasting toxins. Then the lemur wipes the poison all over its body as a bug repellent. That's why a millipede a day keeps the mosquito away. But in a forest on the other side of the world, humans found another way to combat mosquito-borne diseases, and this time nobody had to chew on a millipede. Every 15 seconds, someone dies of malaria. And until recently, the only drug that could help was quinine, derived from the bark of a tree found in the mountains of Peru. By killing the malaria parasite in red blood cells and alleviating fever, quinine was the single most effective malarial treatment for nearly 300 years. Unfortunately, quinine tasted so bitter that, according to legend, the only way British colonials in India could swallow it was by mixing it with gin and lemon. This became a tonic against malaria. The English grew to love the flavor, which is why we're still drinking tonic water today. A millipede's also a tonic against mosquitoes. But at least the lemur doesn't have to swallow the noxious juices. Simply wiping the bug over its fur gives it all the protection it needs. It's the poor old millipede that feels a little sick after a visit to this furry physician.
While our last two animal medics have taken aromatherapy to the extreme in their fight against bugs, coming up, we meet a hungry herbalist that's outstanding in its field. And later, what four-legged physician is definitely barking up the right tree? Find out next on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 8.
Our countdown of the most extreme animal medics continues down on the farm. Most people believe that one field of grass is like any other, But grazing mammals know the pasture is actually made up of a variety of vegetation. Each plant contains a different combination of nutrients and chemical compounds. And that's why this field is a natural drugstore for the animal chewing its way into number 8 in the countdown, the sheep. Long considered one of the world's least intellectual creatures, the sheep is actually outstanding in the field of pharmacology. Australian scientists suggest sheep may self-medicate by eating particular plants to remedy various ailments. Experiments show that sheep naturally infected with parasitic worms will select plants that act as a cleansing purgative. Clover, for example, contains high levels of defensive compounds called tannins that deter hungry insects. Research shows that when sheep eat lots of clover, they have fewer internal parasites. Of course, it's not just sheep that use herbal remedies. Humans have benefited from the healing properties of plants for thousands of years. It's estimated that more than 80,000 species of plant have medicinal properties, and some can be found in your backyard. According to Californian herbalist Amanda McQuaid Crawford, it's easy to make a very simple remedy for colds and flu.
We're going to grate a piece of ginger root. Now, we say that the amount of ginger root that you need in any one dose is about the size of your own thumb. So I think I'm going to use just a small piece like that to grate up today. And ginger root is not only full of gingerol and shegol and all kinds of wonderful essential oils, it's a great anti-inflammatory. Now, licorice root, these small pieces are going to deliver all of their antibacterial and their antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Peppermint has menthol and essential oils that give it a wonderful freshness, and it smells and tastes pretty good to most people. Close this up, and these dried leaves and that grated ginger root are going to swell up a little bit in our water. There's peppermint leaf and licorice root and ginger root, and together the three of them make a fabulous tasting tea. Smells good. Oh, that's delicious.
According to the World Health Organization, plants are the primary form of medicine for up to 80% of the world's population and many animals.
I was visiting friends when I was lecturing in the Pacific Northwest in Canada, and their very elderly dog was chewing on their willow tree, and they tried everything to stop him. And when our hosts were asking us why this might be, we explained, well, it's the original source willow bark of the anti-inflammatory compounds that we know as aspirin. And so this is a dog that knew very well that when the cold, wet, rainy season was coming on, he needed to chew some willow bark and get some anti-inflammatories and ease up those poor old hips and allow him to walk around the backyard in some peace.
And it's not just old dogs that are learning new tricks, as these woolly medics also seem to be able to sniff out herbal remedies in the plants around them. Who knows? Perhaps one day farmers could save a fortune in pharmaceuticals simply by planting a variety of different herbs in their fields for self-medicating sheep.
While our last two contenders made medicines by chewing on grassy weeds and millipedes. Coming up, we unearth a medic with a truly dirty mouth. And later, we stop horsing around and go in search of crystals that cure. That's coming up on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 7.
In the forests of South America, the next contender in our countdown of extreme medics has a most unusual diet. Here, the fruit may look appetizing, but plants guard them by packing them full of noxious chemicals. But that's no deterrent for the animal flying in to number 7 in the countdown. Parrots love eating fruit, even if it means getting a potentially lethal dose of poisonous alkaloids and tannins. They're number 7 in the countdown because one species has found a cure for its stomachache. In Peru, thousands of macaws will descend on riverbanks for an early morning detox. Every day, macaws eat clay. Lots of clay. A parrot can eat 1/10 of its body weight each day, which is about the weight of a hamburger made of mud. These extreme medics have discovered that clay is the perfect antidote for the poisons in their fruity diet. It's thought that the minerals in the clay bind with the plant's toxic substances, neutralizing the poison, allowing it to pass harmlessly through the bird's digestive system. But don't go thinking that eating clay is just for the birds. Some humans also like a teaspoon of clay a day. The theory is that just like the macaw, when this special bentonite clay passes through our body, it absorbs impurities like heavy metals and pesticides that we're exposed to every day. Some people also believe that there are therapeutic powers in other minerals. And luckily, you don't have to swallow them. These are crystals. The earliest record of crystal healing dates back to ancient Egypt, and it's still in use today. Curtis Lang from the Satya Center in New York and Jane Cherry use crystals to heal both humans and horses like Maddie. Poor old Maddie has the degenerative disease arthritis, which is why owner Betsy Cashin is hoping crystal therapy will provide some relief for those aching joints.
Crystal healing has been known to cultures around the world for millennia, and involves primarily the fact that crystals, they have certain properties of storing, amplifying, and transmitting energy. And then that energy can be transferred by the healer to the person or the animal who needs healing. And that stimulates their immune system and helps them to heal themselves.
During the treatment, the horse that was otherwise grazing stopped grazing, and just their head was sinking lower and lower, which is a sign that she's relaxing, and just kind of went into a trance. When she sticks out her tongue, it's kind of a relaxing sign for a horse. So it's nice to see she's doing that while she's getting this treatment.
Yeah, she's relaxed now. That's an improvement in itself, right? Okay, so let's
Can we finish it?
Let's finish up. We'll smooth out her aura. Let her just relax for a minute. She looks like she's
Okay.
ready to relax.
While crystals seem to have helped Maddie relax, it's clay that helps macaws relax about their diet of potentially poisonous fruit. Their simple medicine really is dirt cheap. If only the cure for our next contender was as easy to obtain.
Number 6.
This is the red colobus monkey. It loves eating the leaves of almond and mango trees because they're full of protein. The only trouble is they're also packed full of toxic compounds called phenols. The red colobus monkey is number 6 in the countdown because, just like the macaw, it's discovered an antidote to the poison. The tricky part is stealing it from humans. This hut belongs to a charcoal burner on the island of Zanzibar off Africa's east coast. He hopes to sell his baskets of charcoal as fuel, but the monkeys have a very different use in mind. As soon as the charcoal is left unguarded, the gang makes its move. The monkeys have discovered that chewing on charcoal is the perfect antidote for the phenols in almond and mango leaves. Charcoal absorbs the harmful chemicals and detoxifies the leaves, which is why no basket is safe from these cheeky monkeys. And monkeys are not the only medics with an interest in charcoal. In 1831, the French Academy of Medicine watched in astonishment as a pharmacist named Torrey swallowed 10 times the lethal dose of the poison strychnine. But he didn't die, because just like the red colobus monkey, he'd mixed the poison with finely ground charcoal. It works by soaking up poisons, binding them to the surface of the tiny particles. And there's plenty of surface to bind to. Just 1 teaspoonful of activated charcoal has a surface area of more than 10,000 square feet. It's still used in hospitals today to soak up poisonous chemicals, saving the lives of countless humans and monkeys. Stealing this medicine does have one side effect. It does terrible things to the blood pressure of the charcoal seller. But for the monkeys, chewing on charcoal means they thrive on their toxic diet and have much higher birth rates than those monkeys without access to the antidote.
So far, we've seen cures of charcoal and clay. But still to come, we'll meet an animal obstetrician that's found a way to make delivering babies a breeze. And later, we'll... Number 5.
Having a baby can be a jumbo-sized problem when you're the largest land animal on the planet, the elephant. It's pregnant for 660 days. That's 22 months. How would you like to give birth to something that weighs an eye-watering 260 pounds? Perhaps it's no surprise that a female elephant may go in search of drugs to ease her labor pain. A researcher in East Africa followed a pregnant elephant for more than a year. Usually, she'd walk about 3 miles a day and eat a strictly uniform diet. But near the end of her pregnancy, the mother-to-be walked 17 miles in one day.
Here she is.
There she is.
Here she is.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
She ended up beside a tree from the borage family, a plant that wasn't part of her normal diet. Then she ate it all, from leaves to trunk. Four days later, she gave birth to a healthy calf. Strangely enough, The researcher also discovered that some African women brew tea using leaves from the very same tree to induce labor. It's been suggested that a chemical in the leaves may help start contractions and relax muscles around the birth canal. Of course, if we were pregnant for 22 months, we'd probably walk far more than 17 miles to find something to help ease labor pains. The researcher never again observed the elephant eating that tree species, but believes the pachyderm's behavior is more than just a coincidence. The pregnant elephant's search for a medicinal plant is why these enormous obstetricians are number 5 in the countdown.
Number 4.
In many parts of the world, when people become ill, they don't have access to medical doctors. Instead, as much as 80% of the world's population visits traditional healers for their primary form of health care. And herbs are the main source of medicine. In tropical Africa, people use more than 4,000 plants for medicinal purposes. Just like the animal swinging in to number 4 in the countdown, the chimpanzee. After years of observing chimp behavior, primatologists believe these apes are the original jungle doctors, prescribing medicine from natural sources throughout the jungle. It's thought that chimps use over 30 different plants just to treat stomach complaints. And sometimes they take great care in preparing their medicine. These chimps are dosing themselves with leaves from the Aspilia plant. But they have to be rolled in the mouth, not chewed, in order to preserve the hairs on the leaves. Then they swallow the little green pill. Once in the digestive system, the hairy leaves unroll and trap parasitic worms, sweeping them out of the chimp's intestines. Another useful plant normally shunned as a food source is the mjonso tree. It seems chewing on the bitter bark is how chimps cure diarrhea. When researchers analyzed the mjonso tree's juices, they discovered 13 previously unknown substances with antibacterial, antiparasitic, and even anti-tumor properties. The plant's also valued by African locals because it has more than 25 medicinal uses. But chimpanzees also know how to look after their emotional health. They spend a quarter of their waking hours grooming each other. Not only does this cleaning behavior get rid of parasites like ticks and fleas, it also relaxes muscles, lowers blood pressure, and slows the heart rate. The same principle applies to humans when they stroke the fur of a very different animal. Today, the residents of the Somerville Retirement Home in Riverside, California, have a very special visitor.
Hi, how are you ladies and gentlemen doing today?
Oh, you are well. Great.
Meet Zodiac the llama and his owner, Mary Ann Baker. They're here because research has shown that animals, even unusual animals like a llama, can make former pet owners less lonely. And the simple act of stroking an animal can reduce heart rate and blood pressure.
Right there. Here you go, sweetheart. Very thick. Wow.
Soft.
It is soft,
That's
isn't
really
it?
something.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to give you a kiss.
Yeah?
I think so.
Well, I'm not ready for one right now.
All right.
I'm not ready for one right now.
One residential home using this animal-assisted therapy reported a 15% lower mortality rate in a 5-year period.
How are you, fella? Yeah.
Yeah.
They like their neck rubbed.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they like that.
Making physical contact is a simple form of improving the health of all kinds of social animals, even chimpanzees. Physical contact is the glue that holds the group together and provides them with extended, relaxing, friendly social contact. If only our next contender was as chilled out as these friendly physicians.
While our last two medics found cures simply by chewing on trees, still to come, we'll meet an Australian animal that fights infection like no other. And later, we uncover a messy desk that led to a medical breakthrough. That's coming up on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 3.
The next contender in our countdown of extreme medics is a real glutton. Nothing binges quite like a bear. A bear can easily eat 10 times more food than most Americans, an astonishing 20,000 calories each day. It can pile on about 30 pounds a week, and 80% of that is pure fat, thanks to a diet of salmon. Bears need vast stores of body fat to see them through the winter, because they won't eat, drink, or go to the bathroom for up to 6 months. And bears also go in search of medicine to help prepare them for their extreme sleep. Before hibernation, bears start eating fibrous, rough-edged plants to scour parasites from their gut, just like chimpanzees. They also go in search of a plant called bear root. They chew the roots and rub the paste onto their faces, presumably because the plants contain chemicals that deter external parasites like fleas and ticks. Bears are number 3 in the countdown because when the winter snows arrive, they've dosed themselves with medicines to reduce the number of parasites feeding on them as they sleep. However, there are other reasons why scientists are studying these medical marvels. Once the bears enter their dens, they barely move throughout their long hibernation, a fact that puzzles researchers investigating human diseases. How can a bear remain in a den for 6 months and never urinate? Why don't bears have heart disease when they eat so much fat? Bears may even provide answers for rocket scientists. In zero gravity, astronauts can lose up to 2% of their bone mass a month. That's several times more than is lost by patients with osteoporosis, a disease in which the bones become porous and easily break. This will be a big problem for anybody attempting the 3-month journey to Mars. So it's no wonder that doctors are turning to hibernating bears for help. They spend 6 months barely moving and yet show no signs of osteoporosis. When scientists monitored markers of bone metabolism in the blood of 5 bears, they discovered that during hibernation, there was no weakening or thinning because the bear's bone production remained constant. This could be because when bears are hibernating, they don't go to the bathroom, so they can't expel excess calcium. The logical place to put it is back into the bones. Unfortunately, humans are not very good at recycling calcium. That's why researchers are working out the structural differences between human and bear hormones. By understanding the process of calcium recycling, researchers hope that these big, fat, furry medics will provide new therapies for human bone loss. And who knows, maybe one day they'll even help us reach Mars.
Number 2.
Back in 1928, at St. Mary's Hospital in London, an untidy scientist discovered something interesting on his desk. After returning from a long vacation, he noticed that many of his culture dishes were contaminated with a fungus. His name was Alexander Fleming, and from the fungus came the wonder drug, penicillin.
Through mass production methods, America is continually increasing its output of penicillin, the new drug that effects almost miraculous cures.
Deadly to a wide variety of bugs, penicillin was the first of a range of powerful new antibiotics to forever change the face of medicine. But it's no match for the drugs produced by the animal hopping in to number 2 in the countdown. This is a wallaby, a type of small kangaroo found throughout Australia. It's a marsupial, which means that giving birth is easy. The female delivers an embryo about the size of a baked bean. The helpless baby has to immediately fight its way through the fur, moving from the birth canal to the milk-bearing teats. It takes the newborn Joey 100 days to develop its immune system, and yet it's able to fight off bacterial infections. Eager to find out how the Joey survives, researchers took a closer look at the mother's life-saving milk. They discovered the milk contains an antibiotic that is 100 times more effective than penicillin at killing many harmful bacteria. And it's hoped that one day this potent antibiotic may also become a human lifesaver, because even hospitals have become virulent war zones. There was a time that, thanks to penicillin, doctors believed the battle against infection was over. But then the bugs fought back. Inappropriate prescribing and overuse of antibiotics led to the formation of drug-resistant superbugs. And that's where the wallaby comes in. Scientists hope that the unique antimicrobial in wallaby milk can one day be used in hospitals to fight deadly antibiotic-resistant bacteria. That's how this furry Australian may soon be helping to save lives around the world. But it's still not the wildest position in the countdown.
We've seen the 9 contenders. They've all prescribed some radical remedies. Only one animal is a more extreme animal physician. It's number 1, and it's coming up next on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme.
Our search for the most extreme medic in the countdown finishes in the wetlands of America. Here you can find a relative of the frog called a salamander. These juveniles are entirely aquatic. But eventually, they'll lose the gills on either side of their head and leave the water. The sexually mature adults are air-breathing and walk around on 4 legs. However, across the border in Mexico, there's a type of salamander that never grows up. Meet the axolotl. Adults keep their gills and spend their whole lives submerged. But there's a problem living in one of the most popular boating lakes in Mexico. All those propellers can cause some nasty accidents. But the axolotl is #1 in the countdown because lost limbs mysteriously regrow. It can take just 3 months to replace a severed leg. Scientists are hard at work trying to uncover the secrets of the axolotl's amazing healing powers. So, if disaster strikes, perhaps one day we too will be able to grow a whole new arm or leg. But until then, there's no doubt that when it comes to medical marvels, the axolotl really is the most extreme.